There are many different features which one can use to discover whether or not a ruin is of the tribe in which they have been academically pegged. Size of the stones, the method in which these stones are incorporated in the builds themselves, or even the nature of the methodology in creating these walls. All lost knowledge, all ancient feats beyond the capabilities of any of our known and well-studied ancestors. Yet there are those particular few which are my favorite ancient signatures to seek out, left by these magnificent builders, allowing me to link sites together all over the world. Such ingenious solutions to issues they were inevitably confronted with, whilst constructing their sites with such precision, to suggest that such technologies arose on differing continents at around the same time, purely by coincidence. Civilizations separated by vast oceans, isolated and unable to have shared such knowledge, I feel, a ridiculous stance to take thus. It is one I am always keen to expose, as this is indeed the mainstream stance on such incredible examples of antiquitech. I am talking, of course, of metal clamps, once smelted and cast with varying levels of advanced metallurgies, which have nearly all eroded away, once used to prevent the colossal blocks from drifting, whilst they slowly set into the earth, with the surviving examples, such as those found in Spain, have revealed their technologically advanced creator. With the site featured in tonight's video of no exception. Found deep within the mountains of France, it remains mostly buried hidden from the world. Yet, in the few areas which are above this ancient sediment, my favorite signature revealed drenching this pre-flood ruin. Claimed as pagan, with some areas even claimed as Roman, this labeling, regardless of the structures all clearly being of the same age, they have decidedly been separated by millennia by mainstream academic studies. Interestingly, there exists a series of wooden tenets or clamps once apparently collected from within the north section of the wall. These tenets, however, are made from wood, all somehow still existing, and all dated to a range of 536 to 675. However, could these be a more modern adaptation? Perhaps they were placed there to help those who came later to claim such ruins as their own. For why would one go to such trouble in creating such a colossal stone structure and then decidedly use wooden braces instead of stone or metal? Of the 115 preserved tenons, academically funded researchers Willie and Bernhard selected 46 specimens for study using drachronology, with the selected tenons having at least 30 rings. With a length of 15 to 37 centimeters and a width of 3 to 6 centimeters. The researchers assert that they were cut on site and on demand to fit perfectly into the carved notches made within the sandstone blocks, with them concluding that they do not bear any traces of sawing, thus were once cut with hatchets and/or axes from pre-existing planks. Of the 46 specimens initially selected, only 22 could be dated. This analysis has conveniently allowed for the wall's possible true age to be dismissed, with the analysis making it possible to specify the date on which the tree from which each tenon came and when it was felled. In fact, it gives them a specific cutoff date to claim its construction. The conclusion of our two researchers is as follows. If they come from the same construction campaign, the tenons studied were developed for a construction site between the year 675 and the year 681. The reason I suspect this to be a cover-up of the wall's true age and why these blocks fitted at later dates. Firstly, the fact that this technique found all over the globe and indicative of a lost civilization's work. Also, the largest notches no longer have clamps. As mentioned, most sites which incorporated this technique so old, the clamps have rotted away or more accurately rusted. Why would a group go to the trouble of cutting and placing millions of blocks forming a wall some 10 kilometers long and not use stone or metal clamps like found at so many other sites worldwide? Why are the biggest examples missing? Were they, when the site reclaimed within the pagan era, still exhibiting this rare metallurgy? Perhaps these clamps looted for this specific reason and simply replaced with wooden pegs out of concern of damaging the relic. The conclusion of the funded researchers give a convenient argument to anyone who knows their ages, as evidence that it created at a time when steel hatchets were present, yet still they opted for wood. With the tenons also coming from sessile oaks, a species abundant and easy to acquire all over the slopes of Mont Saint-Odile. In this ancient place lay an as mentioned ancient wall, mostly still buried beneath layers of sediment, which although as mentioned is claimed as pagan, if one looks closely enough, is also revealed to actually be an extremely ancient, highly eroded and disturbed polygonal structure. One that used the same method of setting the blocks, the same clamping technology I have now proven and found in Peru, China, Japan, Egypt, Myanmar, and so on, with the wall also, as mentioned, of an astonishing 10 kilometers in length. I have indeed in the past covered other polygonal structures in France, the UK, and many other places across Europe. Thus, the civilization responsible, I have already confirmed, were indeed upon these lands, or at least in contact and sharing knowledge with the natives before the Great Flood. Note the possible origin and inspiration for the little appreciated feat of our more well-known, more recent ancestors, undertaken across ancient England somewhere around the time of the Domesday Book, when England's lands were being carved up in and around 1086. To separate the land they built what is now known of as Cotswold stone walls, with several sites covered in my other videos, displaying some of the oldest polygonal masonry I have personally been able to identify, all appearing uncannily similar in structure. These once perfectly placed blocks, due to root systems, severe erosion, and other disturbances over the eons, exposing varying stones to the elements to varying degrees, with the water slowly seeping into the seams, pulling them apart, eventually giving them, like the so-called pagan wall, the appearance of roughly shaped stones, somehow once perfectly placed upon one another. Could the highly eroded appearance of these ancient walls, along with their longevity, once the inspiration for the Cotswold stoning method? When I first started this journey, nearly no one was even aware of polygonal structures anywhere other than Peru, let alone Japan or elsewhere. I believe these sites deliberately ignored. Yet, as my work deepens and develops, we will all come to realize this lost legacy far greater than any of us could have possibly imagined. A lost world not just found buried in faraway places, but everywhere, even beneath your feet. It is a journey which I find highly compelling. Add details of the site's names and locations due to